I will start by saying I'm not the ultimate source of knowledge on Facebook ads. With my last business, I sold, it was a 7-figure exit. I doubled the value of the business in 3 months. And I talked about this last time, by just running Facebook ads in the way that I'm going to show you. So before that, I didn't think it would work with SaaS. I just assumed it wouldn't, and figured out the kind of the philosophy and the strategy that does work. So anyways, so let's just go into it. All right. Sorry. Okay. So by the end of this talk, you'll learn the metrics to master to win at Facebook ads, types of creative that work the best, how to find the audience that resonates with your SaaS app, landing page optimization, and some more stuff too. And we'll talk about the 4 core metrics that matter in Facebook ads, how to set up Facebook ad tests, the Facebook profitability levers, and how to track your results properly. All right, just so you know who I am. If you weren't here last time, I was here. I'm the founder of SquidVision. I've built or bought and sold 17 internet businesses since 2009. I've written and directed 2 feature films. I like to build and sell businesses so they have time to go make movies, and that's my true love. Besides my wife and kids, which I have wife and 7 children as the next slide or bullet point. And then I'm also big into golf as well. All right, so this picture over here on the right is from the premiere of the last movie I did. You can see that Napoleon Dynamite over there on the right. He was in that movie. Anyways, that was a fun one. Cool. So let's move on. So this was always the biggest hang up for me with Facebook ads was I'm like, okay, so you gotta get someone to know who you are, right? That you're at the top of the funnel. Then you got to nurture them down the funnel until they're finally ready to buy. And I was like, I just have no idea how to track that. I have no idea how to make that profitable. I don't know if it's profitable. It's just like to me, I couldn't wrap my brain around it. So I never did it. Right. And so when I learned Facebook ads, and I actually learned this from the CEO of Jasper.ai. Anyways, you're going after bottom of the funnel traffic, right? The people you're targeting in these ads are the people that are ready to buy right now. You don't care about nurturing anybody. You care about considering that 2% are going to buy anyways, right? Forget the other 98% that could be nurtured. Let's just go after the 2% because you can track that easily, right? If they came today and bought today, it's very easy to track. And you don't have to worry about, did they come back a week later and buy still? I don't know if that was profitable, right? So that was always the hang up. And so that's the philosophy that we have with this. All right. So these are the metrics that matter. And hopefully you guys know these and are very familiar with how your SaaS business is doing. I'm assuming that almost everybody here runs a SaaS business. Is that a safe assumption? Okay, cool. So customer lifetime value is a big one, right? It's harder when you're brand new to know that number, but you will need to know it. Customer acquisition cost, you learn that from Facebook. Facebook will tell you that. Trial to conversion rate is also very important to know. And then your churn rate as well. So there's other metrics that are great and people talk about other ones, but in terms of this strategy, those are the ones that we really care about. And I'll show you why in a little bit. All right, cool. So this is just, I use Stripe. Feels like a lot of SaaS companies use Stripe. So I'm showing you the dashboard of Stripe will show you trial conversion rate, subscriber churn rate, and subscriber lifetime value. It shows you all 3 of those numbers right here. So you have an idea of what yours are. Now those numbers, it kind of depends on the time period you're looking at. So you have to be careful with what those actual numbers are. If it's looking at just a week's worth of time, that could fluctuate greatly. So maybe drag it out a little bit, but it's showing you the last month by default. Anyways, so that's where you can find those numbers if you don't know them already. I think Profit Whale, you can connect to Profit Whale. They'll show you too. There's other tools that do that as well. I just use Stripe. All right. So when you're running a Facebook ad, there's 3 elements that actually matter in terms of conversions. And those 3 are the hook, the media, and the headline. So what's the hook? The hook is that very first sentence you see at the top of the ad where that arrow is pointed. So a lot of times people will write a whole block of text, but Facebook will always shrink it down and only show the first line. So the first line is the hook. The rest of that, whatever you write after that, is not the hook. That's just, you know, your sales copy. But get that piece of information is very important in terms of conversions, right? You can have you can really affect how well your ads do based on what that says. So then the media is then the image or the video or carousel, image carousel or whatever. That's the media. And then the headline is that little clickable section down at the bottom. So those are the three things that you want to get right when you're building out your ad. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to test. We're going to do a quick test. I'm going to teach you guys how to do a test to like get an ad that is going to perform the best of all the things that you can think of to try. It will be optimal, right? So let's do that. So we're gonna set up 3 different tests. They're both going to run. All 3 are going to run for one day. We're going to do them separately, and then by the end of that, you'll have an ad that is decent. Okay. So first thing. So now I'm going to show you how to set this up. I would do a media test first if I were you, just because it feels like media has the biggest impact on whether or not somebody clicks on your ad. So I would test that first and dial that in first and then run the other 2. But when I set this up, I just showed you how to do a hook test. So we're going to go with the hook test, how you do it. So first thing you do, open up, create a spreadsheet, create 3 tabs. One's the media tab, one's the headline tab, one's the hook tab, right? And you just literally create 5 to 6 versions of a hook in your hook tab. And you can see that I did this here for justreachout.io, which is the other SaaS business that I own. So I just wrote these myself, right? Like you're just trying to like grab the attention of the person scrolling through Facebook, right? So I did these 4, and then I used ChatGPT to write 2 more for me just to see what they would come up with, see if that'd be any better than what I could do, right? So I tested these 6 against each other. Now you notice that I gave each of them an ID number, and that's very important that you do that, right? Because as you start building these ads, this is how you're going to know which one is which, and instead of having to go all the way in to edit the ad to see what hook it is, right? So this makes it a lot easier. So give each an ID, create 5 to 6 of these, and then we're going to go ahead and start testing these things. So you create a new campaign, which is like your test campaign, right? And you're going to create an ad set called Hooks 101, 1001. That's the first ID of the first hook I wrote. And it's really, and again, this is at the ad set level. So you have campaign level, ad set level, ad level, right? Those are the 3 that they have. You create the campaign that's for the test. Then you create the ad set, which is for hooks, right? Hooks 1001. Each of the 6 ads that we're going to do to test are all going to have their own ad set. It just makes it so much easier to track this way. Trust me on this. So you set up an ad set, Hooks 1001, and it's really important that you set it to website traffic as the conversion metric. Now, when you're actually doing Facebook ads to sell stuff, don't ever do that. Always do sales as the conversion metric. But for the test, you can get results super fast this way that will be effective, right? For $5, you'll be able to learn what the best hook is. And if you did that with conversions, it would take forever and be very expensive. Or with sales, I mean. So anyways, that's how you set it up. And then inside of the actual ad where you're building it, the primary text section is where the hook goes, right? So that's my hook. And then here's the rest of my sales copy that I put in there, that in case people want to, when they click the see more button, they'll see that. Now, you can see it shows up right here and showing me exactly how my ad's going to look. There's my hook. So it's really important that you only use one piece of media and one headline for these tests, right? Those need to stay the same for every single one of these you do when you're testing the hook. The only thing that should change, and this content here as well, can you see my mouse moving, guys? Okay, good. So this content here as well should stay the same. The only thing that changes is that little sentence, right? It's critical that you do that, or else you won't get valid results, right? And then your call to action, you're just limited to whatever they give you. I just use learn more. But so this is the test I run. So I set up the first ad, right? And then once that's set up, it'll look like this. It'll be up here at the top, but it'll look like this, hooks 1001, and then the ad 1001, which is what we name it. Click on the three dots on the ad set on hooks 1001 and quickly duplicate. And it's just going to create a copy of hooks 1001. And it'll literally call it hooks 1001 copy. Rename it to 1002, rename the ad to 1002, and go into the ad and change that top sentence, the hook, and don't change anything else. And just go through and do that 6 times where you're just click this, quickly duplicate 6 times. You got all of them. Now you're going to run these for $5 a day, and we're literally just going to run them for 1 day. Now, Facebook is slow to like update their data. So like you'll have data and you won't know it. It'll be like, oh, it doesn't look like these are even running. And so you'll be tempted to run it longer. But once those ads go live, give it 24 hours and then stop the test. And then the data will show up. And then once you have that, you'll have the winner of, it'll look like this when you have data. And it'll show you, and what we care about is the cost per link click, right? That's the number that we are going to, whichever one has the lowest cost per link click, that's the winner, right? So you can see this, the hooks 1001 was our winner. Now I could also go with 1005. It was pretty close. But if I go back to look at these, so you can see 1001, why are you paying so much, right? And then one of the ones that AI generated for me also did pretty well. So I might eventually test both of those against each other just to see which one's better. But that's what you're looking for, right? And again, this is not final. This is just like, all right, we're trying to find a good starting point for the ad that you're going to put out there, right? So this is a good starting point. This hook is what we're going to start with. And then you should always iterate and test stuff against each other, but that's what we'll start with. So now you go back and do the same exact thing for media and for headlines. So you create 6, images for the media, and then 6 headlines, and you run separate tests for those. But don't do any of the testing at the same time. Let one test run and finish, and then start the next one. And then if you do that 3 times, you'll have the winner of all 3 things, right? It will be we call it the winning formula. So this is the one. The test that I did for Just Reach Out, this was the winning formula, right? So for media, like don't overcomplicate it for this, right? It's just like you can see, I just took a snapshot of our actual app, put an arrow pointing to some random number. That number is meaningless. There's nothing there correlating that with what the ad is. It's just literally like, hey, you should pay attention. That's what that is. So I just circled a random number and then had my headline here. And most of the media I tested each other was just like, which of these little headlines on the media would do the best, right? And this is the one that won. And it crushed the other ones too. Anyways, it's always interesting to run these. So that was the winning formula. That's the ad that we would go forward with. Now, once you've done that and you have your winning formula, you have your ad, the next step is to find the right audience. And this matters, right? So how you choose your audiences is like, pick your personas, right? Like who is your target customers? Pick 3, right? Like for me, for Just Reach Out, it's PR agency founders, right? PR freelancers and consultants, and then PR brand managers. So in other words, people that work for a brand and their job is to do PR for that brand. I assumed before we did this that PR freelancers would be by far the best one. But when you look at the cost per click, brand managers like crush the other 2. Like I won't even bother running ads to these other 2 because it's so much less expensive. And there's way more brand managers out there. So it's just a way better deal for me to go after those guys. So that's when you're okay. You've found the right audience. You've got the right ad. Now you're ready to set up a converting campaign with sales conversions as the goal. So you should set your budget for like to $10 to $20 a day. Sorry, I said 10 to 20. I meant 20 to 50 a day, and let it run, right? Like Facebook has to learn who is likely to buy, right? It takes them a while to figure that out. So they're going to show it to a bunch of different people, and then figure out who's the most likely to actually sign up for a trial. So like, I would probably let it go for like 3 weeks at 20 to 50 bucks a day. I mean, I probably would start at 20 a day. Although if you have a little bit more, if you're like, well, money's not as big of an issue, we want to find an answer faster, then go up a little higher. But I wouldn't do more than that. Let it run and just let Facebook figure it out. And then pretty soon, once you start getting signups, then you can, scale that up a little bit. All right. So at that point, you're now like, your new job is to be like, to just create new media, right? Because again, media is the thing that's going to have the biggest impact on the ad success. So just like get crazy with it. Like I said, screenshots with arrows work really well. Do a bunch of different types of those. You'll be surprised how often uglier, less professional media performs better than really clean stuff. And then, but always test it, right? Like always test media against itself, because you just never know. Like making assumptions is really dumb when you're doing Facebook ads, and it can cost you a lot of money. So, I mean, I tried, when we first started, I tried to do some like weird, like I took a picture of me holding this thumb drive that looked like something from Star Wars, and that was my media. I'm like, well, I'm just going to try this random thing and see if that, who knows, maybe people be so curious that they'll click on the ad. It didn't, it failed, but you have to try it. That's the thing. All right. So now let's figure out how we're going to make this profitable so that we can scale this and grow fast. All right. When you first start, the cost per result is that's the customer acquisition cost. That's where it's located in Google's or Facebook's reporting. It's going to be high, right? When you first start, it'll be really high, and you're gonna be like, oh no, this is stupid, I can't do this. Just let it run, right? Don't let that scare you. Facebook will figure it out, and it'll start to get lower. If it stays high like that after like 10 signups or something, yeah, then maybe you need to redo your ads. The ads aren't good enough. But anyways, don't let that cost per result scare you at first. All right. So your customer acquisition cost needs to be about 20% to 30% of your customer lifetime value. In other words, if your lifetime value of your customer is $300, you need to be able to get a trial sign up for $60 to $90 from Facebook. That's the only way the numbers are going to work. So that becomes your target and your goal. Now, there's a few ways to do that, but let's just go through an example, right? So let's say your trial conversion rate is 33%. Remember, we talked about this being an important metric. Here's why it's important. If it's 33%, that means you need 3 trial signups to get 1 paying customer, right? Because only 33% are going to stick around and pay. So 33% of 3 is 1. So at $75 customer acquisition cost, if it costs you $75 to get a trial sign up, it's going to cost you $225 to get 1 paying customer. So if your lifetime value is 300 and it costs you 225, your profit is essentially 75. Now I made another slide with more like equations in case that was not easy to follow, right? Let's go through it one more time. 3 trial signups times 0.33, which is your trial to conversion rate, equals 1 paying customer. Customer acquisition cost is $75 per trial. Then 3 trial signups times $75 equals $225. $300 lifetime value minus $225. The cost for 1 paying customer equals $75 of profit. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? This is the thing. This is the key to this, right? If you don't get these numbers right, you'll lose a lot of money. If you get it right, you can sell your business for a lot of money and retire or go make movies. That's what I would do. All right. So what this means is that those core metrics become your profitability levers, right? Adjusting those, if you can get those numbers to be better, then you win and you can crush Facebook ads, right? So for example, if you improve the customer acquisition cost, lifetime value, and trial to conversion rate by 20% each, the 3 numbers I gave you before, if you did it by 20% each, this would be the new numbers, right? $60 customer acquisition cost, which is, reasonable. Lifetime value, $360, which is also reasonable. And trial to conversion rate, 40%. right? If you did those two, one new paying customer now will only cost you $150 instead of $225 and bring a profit of $210. So now the numbers get a lot, this is looking at a lot better, right? You spend 150 to make 210, that's like, okay, we can grow this way, especially if your churn is at a decent rate, where you're not just bleeding out customers all the time. So like your focus needs to be like, okay, how do I get the customer acquisition cost down? That's going to be by doing better ads and better landing pages. How do I get lifetime value up? That there's lots of ways to do that. This is not a presentation on that, but that's what your focus is. And then trial conversion rate, same thing. Like, how do I get more people to stick around and actually pay? Because those levers can really make or break you. All right, so here's how I do it. Now, there's going to be some shameless plugging here for SquidVision, because I built SquidVision and I use SquidVision to track this stuff. And the reason I do that is because Facebook and Google, I do Google ads as well, they only track trial signups. They don't really do a good job of tracking, especially with SaaS, like what is the value of a customer? Like if someone comes in, even if they sign up and pay eventually, like they keep paying. And how do we track that? Like how much are they actually worth? And so SquidVision actually does that. Like it will literally track the lifetime value of any one customer on any of the landing pages you create, right? So if they come in and they sign up, SquidVision will keep saying, hey, this guy paid again, this guy paid again every month. And so I know exactly how valuable any one of these landing pages are. So that's why I'm going to talk about SquidVision. So what you want to do is you want to create separate landing pages for each of your ad campaigns. Anytime you do an ad campaign, now remember, campaign, ad set, ad. We're talking about campaigns. Any new ad campaign, create a new landing page. It's just and then name the landing page something that ties it to that campaign so that you can track it. So here it is inside of SquidVision. Sorry, I'm gonna take a drink. Here's inside of SquidVision. I have these 3 landing pages called Try It Now, and you can see it tracks visitors, clicks, trials, conversions, and then revenue that's generated. Now this revenue continues to update all the time as months pass and people continue to pay. So I get to see like which one of these landing pages is doing better and generating more customers that stay. All right, so super important. There we go. Started going real slow. Hold on a second. I think this is the slide we're supposed to be on. It might change in a second. So what is SquidVision? It's similar to Hotjar and Crazy Egg, but with revenue attribution. So we literally connect to your Stripe account and associate any clicks and visitors with the revenue that they end up generating for you. So it's just a different way to look at analytics. It's more visual with, like, you can see that we show conversions, we show trial to conversion rate on this. Like, for example, this landing page has a 65% trial conversion rate, which is phenomenal, right? And then visitor to sign up rate is 1.5%, which is just okay. But then we also have heat maps that show revenue on each button and everything. So I use this is what I use to keep track of how well these things are doing. And you can see, like, when you look, there's an interactive heat map. When you hover over these bubbles, you get like more data on each one of these. All right, won't spend any more time on that. And then connect with me here at Real Adam White, both on, I don't know if it's Twitter now or X or whatever it is called, and then also Instagram. But cool, that's really it, guys. I mean, I'm sure there's questions, so let's just go into that. No, really good questions. So I will only run these tests for a day. Like, you don't need to spend more than $5 on this test, on each test. So do like a $5 budget for one and just let it run for a day, and that should give you enough data. And yes, I'm using whatever one won the previous test, I will use in the next test as the one that I keep. So if hook 1001 wins, that hook is going in all the other media test ads. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I actually wasn't for a time a stats major in college, so I should be more sensitive to that. But it was too nerdy for me, so I didn't do it. But anyways, I actually, the way that I set that test up, and I didn't explain this, was I didn't set it up for just a $5 budget, run it for a day. I set it up to where it would go for 500, 5,000. I can't remember what, but like impressions. Like I set up once it got to a certain number of impressions to turn off. Right. That's what I was really doing. I don't think you really need to do that. If as long as your audience is big, you'll get the impressions if you just run it for a day. Having said that, I could have let it run longer, but you'll see that it's not going to really change. Like you'll get the right data really fast. You know, the ones that are going to resonate are going to resonate, and the ones that aren't, and it's just going to cost you more money to learn that lesson more thoroughly. So that's why I cut it off short. But yeah, you could easily, I mean, you could change it to $10 a day and just do a $10 test. That'd be fine too. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I could have been more thorough about it, but I think for the first one, you know, just get going and then start running. Then you can run a more thorough test when you have like several winners that you're running against each other. You know what I mean? And then find the one that actually is better. Essentially did all three audiences in one. So it's like everybody that was in my, like the three targets, I did all those people as one audience for the first three tests. And then after that, I separated them. Yeah. You know, I think that you kind of take all of those factors out of the equation when you just use those numbers that we talked about. I'm going to go back to that slide really quick, but like getting to this right here.
Yeah.
Like if you know your lifetime value, right? So
right.
So if your lifetime value is at $150, it's going to be really hard for this to be profitable for you, right? And that's all we really care about is, all right, I need to get to 20%, 20 to 30% of my customer lifetime value. I need to price this as whatever way it gets me there, right? That's how it can be profitable. And you know, if you do that, then you can make it work if people are willing to pay that price for whatever service.
I guess I'm curious, maybe more anecdotally, like if you just have an experience of to say like here's a range of price of product or anything like that where it works, where I guess it's where we've seen the best results and otherwise. Yeah.
No, other than, I mean, just like getting I'd recently basically doubled prices on Just Reach Out, and now the customer lifetime value has gone from 300s to 500s. Right. And that's continuing to grow because as more time passes, it'll grow higher. But it's like, it's so much easier for me to make that profitable when a customer is going to pay me $500 to $600. You know what I mean? I just have so much room. I can pay more for ads and still be profitable. So that's really just like the only number I'm looking at. You know what I mean? I don't honestly, I don't know. Maybe that didn't answer your question, but it's a simple strategy, and I just stick to that because I can wrap my brain around that. Low priced SaaS. Yeah, if you're like if you're charging like, you know, $20, $30 a month, you know, $50 a month, it might be hard unless you just have a very sticky product where people are staying forever. But if you have a good lifetime value, then you can make it work. Yeah, you just, like I said, you need to become a master at creating new media. You know what I mean? With SEO Jet, the one that I sold, that one, I told you guys this, and I shared these in the last presentation, but I did 2 funny commercials because I have a filmmaking background. And then I also did a bunch of static ads that were just like screenshots, like your standard stuff, and used both of those to kind of just mitigate the staleness factor, you know, let those run as long as possible. Although, frankly, I didn't run them very long before I was selling the business. So they never had a chance to die on me.
I had a few. First of all, man, thank you. That was a really good talk. There was a lot of useful stuff in there.
Good.
I did a lot of Facebook ads back in the day, but I haven't touched it in a couple of years. So some of this was pretty new for me. So first question was when it comes to the media. So you mentioned using screenshots with arrows pointing to various places and having a few different kinds. You said try some kind of low quality stuff as well. You know, what are your thoughts on video versus images? Is there anything else that you've seen that tends to work a bit better than something else? Is that like what would be your go-to if you were setting up a Facebook ad from scratch? You were testing out media. What would be like the top 3 things that you'd sort of test in terms of media?
I am not like the expert on this at all, but I personally, I'll start with screenshots, you know what I mean? Like, and just like screenshots with arrows with a good hook in the actual media, right? Like I like you saw PR for under $150 in that industry. That's unheard of, right? So it's a very good hook for people. So I think talking to the camera is like with a sales video is it can be very effective, right? Like I think you can make that work really well. It's just harder to do, right? Like if you want to get started quickly, like a screenshot is very simple. You know, I mean, you can have 6 different screenshots set up and going in 20 minutes, you know, for your media. So that's why I like that, you know, like I said earlier, I'm the kind of guy that just does stuff, man. I don't, sometimes to my detriment, I don't think a lot about it. I'm just like, let me try this. Let me try this. I'm sure I could direct a movie. It's easy, you know? So anyways, so that it's great sometimes and sometimes it's terrible, but that's why I just say test everything. You know what I mean? But yes, I would definitely create some videos and test them for sure. Like even just you talking to the camera, telling people why they should care about whatever you're selling, you know, digging into the pain of what you're solving.
Fantastic. And with the audiences, when you were setting them up, were you just using, like, would you just use the kind of default Facebook targeting? Were you doing like custom audiences and lookalike audiences or anything kind of funky like that? Or what? How were you setting up those audiences?
Yes, great question. Dang, I totally forgot about that. If you have customers already, 100% you need to create a lookalike audience to your customers. That will be your #1 winning audience by far. So thank you for that. I totally forgot to include that in here. But yes, if you haven't had a bunch of customers, that it won't help you as much. But if you've had, you know, 30, 40, at least 30 or 40 orders where people have paid you money, or at least even signed up for a trial, although that's not as helpful, upload that list and create a lookalike audience to that list with 2%, whatever the 2% metric is, they give it. And use that audience for sure. In fact, create 2 campaigns, one with a lookalike audience and one with an interest, like where you're just using Facebook standard stuff, and let those run against each other and see which one does better. But the lookalike audience typically will crush just a standard, you know, audience that Facebook can bite based on interest.
Awesome. And then last question I had, I think Mehdi had one more as well, was well, so with these ads, so and I'm probably showing how rusty I am on this. So when last time I touched Facebook ads, you could run them on Facebook, you could run them on the sidebar, you could run them on Instagram, you could run them on the kind of partner network, you could run them in a bunch of different places. And I always found that just running them on Facebook tended to perform better than everything else. But that was a few years ago now. Like, do you kind of get granular with where you target, like where you're running these ads, or do you just kind of let Facebook decide where that goes? Like, how do you kind of structure that?
Well, yes, I do like it to be granular with it, and I would say like neither of my apps are very useful on mobile, right? So I don't want somebody signing up on mobile, because then they're going to immediately have a bad experience. Like this isn't super useful on a computer. It works beautifully, and that's how it's you know, because it's business to business. That's how I want it viewed and used. So, so I would say tell Facebook only put this on no mobile, only desktops, right?
Yeah.
And typically I would only do Facebook, just because I don't know, Instagram doesn't seem to do as well. But But don't take that as law, right? Test it, like, because Instagram might be great. Things move and change. So
absolutely.
Plus, there's at least 20 people using Threads now, so that could be big too. So
I don't know how many people are using Instagram on desktop. That might be even less a threat.
That's why you don't really have to worry about it, right? Yeah, sure. Go ahead and show it on Instagram. It's fine as long as it's not mobile.
Yeah.
But I do run all 6 versions together at the same time as one test. Yeah, but I only test one element, right? Hook, media, or headline, or audience. So, yeah. Now, I will say, I didn't talk about retargeting at all, but a great way to get down customer acquisition costs is by retargeting. In other words, creating a list of people that have already seen your ads or interacted with your ads and running ads to them, right? That's kind of a more of an advanced hack, but you have to get this going first and get traffic and people doing stuff before that will work. But if you're like, hey, I'm stuck at $90 customer acquisition cost, start running retargeting, and those you'll see better results. For the testing, it's not as big of a deal, right? Because you're not trying to get sales anyways. So you'll have 3 different, like, you'll have hook ad sets, then you'll have 6 media ad sets and 6 of the other ones, headlines, right? All in one campaign. So that would be confusing, right? But I'm talking about once that's done and you have an ad you're going forward with, like, then you create a campaign saying, all right, this is the campaign where our audience is a lookalike audience of current customers, and I'm using my winning ad, right? Create one landing page for that campaign, and then you're going to create another campaign that's like, this is for, it's not a lookalike audience, it's just like, I'm picking interest that Facebook gives me and creating a new audience, but I'm running the same ad as the other campaign, but do a different landing page for that one, right? So you get the real value, because one of them might have a way more signups, but they all cancel before the trial ends, which has happened to me before, right? Where I'm like, oh, this, like, I'll run a split test landing pages, and I'll be like, oh, this one's crushing it. And then I look at the actual revenue generated from each of those different pages, and the one that had a lower conversion rate was just attracting the right buyers who are going to stay, right? So it was way better for me to, when you have that kind of knowledge, it really makes a difference on how successful you'll be.
Thanks so much again for doing the talk today. I wonder, do you mind just going to the slide with your contact details?
Follow me on the socials. I use Instagram for filmmaking stuff. I use Twitter for business stuff. So whichever one you care about, if you want to follow me on both, let's do it, baby.
Awesome. Adam,
Fantastic.
thanks so much. This was a kick-ass talk. So thank you so much for doing this.